Geology 147, the violent earth. What a strange name for a class. And this is a strange geology class. It's very different from most other geology classes. In most of the geology classes that we offer here at Central Oregon Community College, we focus on the common events. How do things usually work? What is the standard processes for different types of geologic events? That's not going to be the case in this class. In this class, we're going to focus on the unusual, on the exceptions to the rule rather than the basic rules. We're going to be looking at the most extreme examples, the most dramatic examples, and yes, the most catastrophic examples of different geologic processes. So if you've taken other geology classes, be prepared. Instead of looking for the common elements, we're going to be looking for the exceptions. For example, we are going to talk about earthquakes, very violent events, but we're not going to focus on the magnitude 4, 5, 6 events that happen on a daily basis somewhere in the world. We're going to be looking at those very rare magnitude 8 and 9 earthquakes, trying to figure out where, when, why, how did they happen, as well as what were the effects of them. Same with lava flows. This isn't going to be about the day in, day out lava flows that they have in places like Kilauea, Iceland, places like that. We're going to be talking about the flood basalts, the flood lavas that covered the whole state of Oregon a few 100,000 years ago. Some of the basalts that covered most of the continent of India. So these bigger, bolder examples. Volcanic eruptions. By their very nature, these are dramatic events and exciting events, but they do happen fairly regularly. So we aren't going to be spending a lot of time on the regular forms of these large explosions, but the super volcanoes, the ones where the ash covers an entire continent instead of just a few hundred square miles. Same with glaciers. Instead of talking about the glaciers that you can hike up to today on Mount Hood or the Three Sisters, not those small valley glaciers, we're going to focus on ice ages, and including a time with the snowball Earth where almost the entire planet was covered in ice. Floods. We've been having a lot of floods lately in the news, but these aren't, again, the floods that we're going to be talking about in this class. We're going to be looking at the mega floods, things like the ones where at the end of the last ice age, there were floods that happened in a matter of days that wiped out and covered most of eastern Washington and northern Oregon. Just a few days, water covered those huge areas. Very dramatic and unusual event. No way to talk about extreme events in a time like this without talking about climate. Current climate change, our understanding of that is based a lot on study of some extreme climatic events in the past. So we're not just going to be looking at what's happening now, but we're going to be looking at some of these really hot and really cold, really dry, really wet periods in the past, see why they happened, how they affected life on the planet, as well as the planet itself. And if we're going to be talking about how climate affects life, we must be talking about fossils and extinctions. Climate's not the only reason for extinctions. We'll be discussing lots of different possibilities and variations on these extreme events, which would wipe out a large portion of the species on the planet in a pretty short period of time. So buckle up, this is not your usual geology class. This one is going to be focused much more on that 1 in a million event, or if a geologist could sort of make a top 10 list of the top 10 big events in the history of the Earth. That's the kind of things that we're going to be talking about in this course.